Hello viewers and welcome back to the channel. In this week's video, I'll be talking about Daily Race C at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. This week's Daily Race is a bit odd for a number of reasons. Firstly, there's obviously no pit strategy in this game. So you can run fuel map 1 to the end of the race and have still plenty of fuel left. We're on the racing hub with 1X tyre wear, which makes tyre wear literally not present in this entire race, and also it's very hard to overtake around this track. So as we get underway in this track, I'll be using the P3 cam for most of this video because this drive, it gives us a good view of the entire race that's got and the situation of the race that's going around. P4 all the way down seems to have dropped off, and they've just got overall slower race pace than the top three, so that's why I'm going to use at P3 for most of this race to explain what is going on. So as at the start, we get pretty even starts, and yeah, it's pretty similar. And for the first lap, it's very crucial to pull away as much as you can, especially if you're in the lead because you don't have the slipstream. Then also, if you can pull away and if you break the slipstream, then it will be so much easier for you to try and get ahead and move forward in the race rather than constantly looking back. So now P3 manages to close the gap to P2, but then they opt to bump draft each other. And I think that's what you should be aiming to do for most of this race. As you can see, into the hairpin, P3 actually gives P2 a bit of a punt, a light punt. Then he does the right thing and lets him back pass. You can see the throttle trace, he does let him back pass. And I think it was a fair and square move because nobody lost out in anything. They might have lost a bit of time to me, but after that, after everything, you can't just stop people from making those moves. And here we're coming up to the end of lap 1. He gets a pretty good exit out of the last corner. In the last corner, you want to make sure that you hit the curb, like the sausage curb on the right hander, like the first apex, and then miss the sausage curb on the second apex because it really unsettles your car. And still at the end of lap 1, P4 and P5 and all those drivers behind have started to drop back, and right now it looks like a three-way fight for the lead. But we're not going to actually start fighting for too much because otherwise it'll just put us back into the hands of P4, P5, and we'll end up losing even more time. And there's no need to fight that early because we've got similar race pace and we can just work together as a pack to try and pull away from everyone else. That way, when the fighting starts, it's only going to be a three-way fight for the win rather than like 5 or 6-way fight. This corner that's coming up on us right now, so this corner, you have to be super careful with it because you have to attack that curb, but then if you attack that curb at just the wrong angle, your car will bounce and you'll just lose control and you lose a whole lot of time. Or you could, and if you actually go slightly to the left of that first curb there, you can also lose just so much time because you get a penalty. And that's, we'll see later. A penalty can be a race-defining thing around this track as well, given how hard it is to overtake. You will see that as this video progresses as well. But essentially, there's no real overtaking, like really good overtaking zones around this circuit or anywhere that can really allow for like proper side-by-side battling or overtaking. In this chicane that we've just passed right now, these high curves make overtaking really, really difficult. And you can see P3 gives P2 a bump draft there, and I tried to defend the inside. This next part is actually where the overtake can happen if you're on the outside. I try to defend the inside, but then I don't want to push him wide. The only way you can really go, make the inside work on that corner is if you brake early, but then somebody can easily sweep around the outside of you, as P2 does in this case. And now P2 gives me a bit of a punt and go off track, and then he tries to slow down. P3 doesn't see that, and then P3 hits what is P2 now. So we'll call him Racing DKMR. This driver gave me a punt, and then he tried to slow down for me, and then the other Japanese guy ends up not seeing that, and he goes in the back of him. I think it was all fair. Yeah, I hit the wall now because I did get a bit stressed in that moment, and I didn't have full concentration. I was actually thinking about what was going on behind, and I was kind of panicking a bit, so that's why I hit the wall. So I had to really calm myself down in the situation and try to pick my pace back up, focus on the race ahead of us, and not try to lose too much time trying to push excessively hard and make mistakes. So before, when I was talking about earlier, into turn 1, the braking zone, so there's a bit of a, it's like a bit of a kink, like that short kink, and you can't like just trail off the brake in turn 1, because otherwise you'll use up the whole track width, and that's what's going to cause, and you're going to cause the other driver that's on the outside to be forced wide, and that's not something that you want to be doing in sport mode, at least at this kind of level. Not that you should be doing it in lower lobbies, but that's in Gran Turismo, the racing rules show that you can't just force somebody off if they're on the outside in sport mode. So now we're heading to lap 4. I've closed the gap back down to P1 right now, the other Japanese guy, and he makes a bit of a mistake through turn 2, but I can't do anything about it. That's the difficult overtaking nature of this track, is that you, like, even if you made a mistake, I can't go for a lunge into that corner because of how short the braking zone is. If I try to go for a lunge, then I'll probably end up just ramming him out of the way and doing a push to pass, which is, again, isn't something you want to do. And I have a bit of a look up the inside, then I'm too far away. Because if you're in the dirty air through that long right-hand sweeper before with the tight walls, you'll end up just scrubbing the front and you'll lose speed, and then you can't really go for a lunge on the inside. And there's just absolutely no way you're going to hold it around the outside. Coming up to the next corner, you either do a lunge down the inside. There's pretty much no way you can go around the outside of this corner that you're going through right now, unless you're Valerio Gallo at the World Finals. I don't know how he pulled off that overtake, but like pretty much in these cars you can't really go around the outside. And I go for a bit of a lunge here. I think it was pretty clean until this point where I do run a bit wide, and P2, the other Japanese guy, turns into me a bit. I honestly think that he was racing into it, but you'll see me now pull to the left and have my right blinker on. That indicates to him that I'll let him through, and I do end up lifting off the throttle. I think, yeah, I do that now, and then he pulls ahead of me. I was just going to let him pass because at that time in the race I didn't know if I had rammed in or if it was a bit of a racing incident, and I think this one was just like accidental contact, a bit of racing incident. Like I could have just gotten away with not letting him pass, but I think it's best to just let him pass anyways. You'll see later how I actually do eventually get past him again, because we've all got pretty similar race pace. So again, now going back to the point of difficult overtaking, that hairpin, you can go for a lunge on the hairpin. You do run the risk of accidentally ramming somebody into the shadow realm, but most of the time you can get a clean dive into the hairpin. But the other thing is that once you commit to the dive, you'll have a really bad exit out of that hairpin, and it will cause you to lose a whole chunk of time going down that back straight, and you're going to be very prone to getting overtaken into the final chicane, especially if someone has such good of a run that they can like just drive past you on the straight. Now here, oh yeah, this was my, might have been the other lap. We'll see what happens at the hairpin now that I'm so close to him. Do I go for a lunge? No, I stay right with him. I try to go up the inside because he does run a bit wide, but I think he runs wide to carry more speed through the hairpin, so I can't do anything about that, and I have to commit to my late apex that I was trying to do at the start, and I have to lift off the throttle a bit so I don't accidentally tag him. And then coming up to the final chicane, you can see P3 Racing DKMR, this person has caught up to us a little bit more because of like how we've been going offline a bit. Again, through the last corner, I think P1 hits the wall a bit. I have a bit of slipstream, but I think the slipstream's still not powerful enough for me to have enough of a closing speed to put one side. Turn 1's not a place for a dive bomb because you'll end up pushing the car on the outside wide, and then I have to just follow behind, and he goes a bit wide in the exit again. Oh no, I almost get onto the grass there. That was a close call, but I can't do anything into the next corner except for stay behind and hope that I can get a good exit, which I think I do manage to do. And he goes very close to hitting the wall there, and he does pull away a tiny bit, but then you can see in the dirty air I run wide in this sweeping corner. and there's not a lot that I could do. I take a much tighter line through these corners, but again, I don't have enough closing speed to actually draw alongside him into that next chicane, which also is very hard to overtake him because of how tight it is. And then now going up to this corner, the next lap is something where something more interesting happens. In this one, I think, yeah, this should be the lap where he brakes quite earlier than me for this corner. Oh no, this might be the next lap, but he brakes quite early for this corner and tries to take a very wide line to that corner, whereas I brake really late for that corner and then overshoot the apex and then slow down a lot more and then cut back to get a late, meet the apex of that corner very late as I'm cutting back and accelerating to try and maximize my exit, whereas the driver ahead tries to carry more speed through the corner to try and maximize his exit. And then onto the main straight. Again, it's very hard to overtake around here because also the straights aren't long enough, which means that the slipstream can't give you enough of the closing speed to actually draw alongside them, especially in these Group 4 cars which are really underpowered. Unlike last week at Tokyo Expressway, and here I always drop into the wall. I did that one race earlier. I dropped it into the wall. Luckily I kept it in P1, but it was a very close call in the other race. And now because I've got dirty tyres, I'm dropping back and P1 is going to pull alongside and ahead of me. And then now this is the point where I realised that P1 actually cut one of those earlier corners and he's got a 1 second penalty, which means that I turn on my blinkers. You can see down here where the telemetry is. I turn on my blinkers to signal to P3 to not fight. This way that we can actually both get past P1 here when he serves his penalty. But this is very important. When you see that you've got somebody ahead with a penalty, try not to defend. Even if P3 does get past you, bump draft him. Try and catch up to the person ahead and you will get past. You'll anyways get a net position gain, or you won't lose any positions, but you will get past somebody that is ahead of you and could be faster than you in terms of race pace. This is very important because now he's got a 1 second penalty. As you can see, I've been doing 145s throughout the race, and it's been pretty much enough to hold off these two A+ rated drivers. I know some of them are really quick. You see this person's done a 144.9. Later on, I think he does a 44.6. Could be another race, but then you can see both of us, we get past P3 because Grace and DKMI hasn't been very onto attacking me, and we both didn't lose much time there by fighting, even though he probably could have sent a lunge down the inside in one of those other corners. So now the person that was P1 is now back down to P3, and you can see just how much penalty really costs you in these races. A 1 second penalty, which can be caused by just slightly cutting one of those corners. If you try, because you have to use track limits. For example, in this one, you have to go all over the grass to gain as much time as you can. But if you just go that tiny inch more than you're supposed to, then you end up losing about 1.5 seconds due to a 1 second penalty. Now, this is very costly for P3, the person that's we're riding on board with right now, because because of how hard it is just to overtake. So he can't really find a place to overtake any of us throughout the rest of this race. Yeah, this is the lap where now no, this is not the lap where this happened. We all go through the hairpin all fine. As you can see, P3 sets a purple 2 sectors, and he's been doing 144s the last couple of laps, which is very fast for race trim. In terms of general lobby pace, in your A lobbies you would expect to see high 145s. In B lobbies I think it's about a 146, but yeah, 144 is faster than some of the other people in the lobby's qualifying time, and this guy is now closing down. And we're on to the penultimate lap. As you can see, he takes the chicane very well. This is the way that you should be taking the chicane. So going all over the curb for the first right-hander, and then trying to just only go on the the rumble strip curb for the second part and not over the sausage curbs. onto the second last lap. I'm trying to focus on just setting some good lap times and just focusing up ahead rather than trying to worry about the two drivers that are behind me. I know that worst comes to worst, I finished P3 and I still have DR gain, but if I try to focus behind, then I could end up making a costly mistake, and that might tumble me down into like P4, P5. As you can see on the mini map to your top right, P4 is a very, very long way back. I think it was at the end, like they finished like 7 or 8 seconds behind me. But here, P3 does the smart thing of buck drafting P2 in hopes of catching me. These two Japanese people are a pleasure to race with. They're very clean. They're very good people online. Unlike some other people that I've had to deal with in the past, they like push to pass and all that stuff. Those people race really fair and really professionally. Is something that I really appreciate in a lot of A+S rated drivers. Here they bump draft each other, and these two drivers came after the race and like they were like, congratulations, well done, everything, thanks for the race, all of that. Unlike I think 2 weeks earlier we had Austria in the Group 4s and we had absolute carnage. We had revenge punts in A lobbies and all that kind of stuff, which is not really acceptable. And then onto the final lap now here, with I think P3 is starting to drop back a tiny bit. 1:45.8 is his lap time. There's not really much tyre wear, so it's just maybe just a bit of a slower lap from him. Anyways, that's not actually very slow. 1:45.8 is pretty good to race through. And then I'm just focused on trying to set as much of a fast lap time as I can, minimising my mistakes, trying to carry as much speed through the corners as I can, without trying to focus on like defending or blocking or anything like that, the drivers that are behind me. And then, because of the short braking zones, I'm pretty confident that neither of those two drivers, because of how clean they are, and I know I can race with them and I know that they won't make any savage moves, I'm pretty confident that they wouldn't make any big lunges down the inside of any of those quarters. And even if they do and we make contact, they'll let me past again. So I just braked at my normal braking point, so as late as I can, but not any later that I'll go wide. And that's what I did for this hairpin. I think I knew the gap was too big for him to do a lunge. As you can see, he has a quick look at the inside, but then he thinks better about it and doesn't decide to commit to a move, which I think is a smart thing, because he could have lost P2 and he could have gone down to P3 if he had tried that move. Then onto the back straight, the gap was about 3/10 from what I remember, and I was just taking the last chicane cleanly. Don't try to abuse the curbs, don't try to push it, just make it through the chicane, and I knew that I would have enough of a gap. I actually ended up using a bit too much curb, but I knew that I had enough of a gap. P3 got a better exit than P2 here, racing TKMR, and he actually gets him on just before the line, and we have this super close finish to finish off what was a pretty good race from all three of us. I win by like less than a second, and it was overall a great race. Even though we didn't have strategy, we didn't have any of that, it was like a pure sprint to the line with just like raw pace. And I was pretty lucky that we had like all these great drivers around me to race with, rather than a bunch of people that we had 2 weeks ago where it got really dirty. And yeah, I think this week's races are actually pretty nice, even though they might seem a bit bizarre to begin with. Anyways, I think that's it for today's video, and do make sure to subscribe if you enjoy my channel, and do make sure to pop on my live streams, which I'll be doing at every couple of days around 9 a.m. UK time. And take care, and I'll see you on the next video then, or my next live stream. Bye.